We have them do a little homework, writing thoughts down. We ask people to keep a mood scale. Those of you who treat depression or have depressed patients, if you ask them, how long have you been depressed, they'll say, since birth, and does it ever get better? No. I feel completely miserable all the time, and I think they actually believe that. It's one of the things that you can is a symptom of depression. But we get them each day to just put down where their mood is, and you'll find that it goes up and down, and we can start connecting their mood then to activities in their life or to things that they're thinking. So we ask them to keep track of their mood, and people are often pretty surprised to see that it does go up and down. So Sunday they did go to church and they felt much better for a while than before. So it's part of the treatment, and then we just teach them these thinking errors and how to catch them. My marriage was a failure, or versus during my previous marriage I learned what I want from a relationship, or I made mistakes but I now know much more. I can't work, so I'm useless. I can't work now, but I'm really emotionally supporting my family. You hear this, I never do anything right. I've definitely heard that from depressed people. Well, I've made mistakes, but there are things I do right, too. If you ask them to really, this person will say, I never did anything right, and then talk about their wonderful child. And you said, well, who raised that kid? You did nothing right all your life, and you have this tremendously well-functioning, lovely daughter. You think you did maybe something right there? Oh, well, yeah, I think maybe I did help raise a nice kid. So, or, I had a patient who said, she was just a complete failure, and it turned out she had a very successful career for many years that she just wasn't even thinking about in this negative state. So it's really helping people find out these mistakes, keep track of their thoughts, and then talk back to their harmful thoughts. We ask them to examine the evidence. This was an example. I treated a young man who was anxious and depressed, and he was, one of the things he was depressed about, he said, I'm such an anxious guy, I feel anxious all the time, it's not fair, it's miserable, how come I have to feel so anxious and miserable all the time? I said, well, why don't you check with your friends, let's just check. He's a young, driven businessman, so he's probably, let's pick friends like you and ask them what percentage of the day they're anxious. And so he kept track of how much of the day he felt anxious, and he asked his friends to. He was right in the average. He was having this, so he had to quit saying this, oh, poor me, I feel more anxious than everyone. Young guys starting out in the career probably feel some anxiety, and that felt much better to him. So I think you can ask people to become detectives and really figure out if they believe these thoughts and think they're really truthful or not. We call it catch it, check it, change it. So we ask people to try to catch a negative thought as it goes through their mind. Check it out. Is it accurate? Is it correct? Is it incomplete? And then is it unbalanced? And then change it and try to change it to a more positive view. A lot of people are worriers that are depressed, and worry can really have a negative impact on your life. If you're walking around and your head is thinking, oh my God, did I do? It's really awful. So we say to people, if worry is that important to you, you want to do it right. You don't want to just do it all day while you're walking around trying to do other things. So set aside a period of time to worry. Give yourself half an hour if you need it. Sit down, worry, and then be done with it. If you start feeling those thoughts at another time, say, oh, I'm not going to worry again until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll worry between 9 and 9:30. I'll do it right. It can be very powerful to let go of all those worry thoughts that we can have during the day. Many people really love this. We sign a little contract with them to agree to worry only at a certain time each day. Did anybody do that in our group? Did you have some people? Yeah. It can be very helpful. It sounds like a funny little technique, but it can really help people. So then we work on activities and mood, getting people to do more pleasant things. There are many reasons that people do less activities, but we try to get them to do things. It's important to do some pleasant activities alone so you don't have to count on someone else, so you know you can always have that. I had a patient who had been on public assistance, a very small amount of public assistance for many years, and kind of lost almost everything pleasant in her life. She did have a little apartment, and somehow she had managed to keep one nice cup and saucer. And, you know, a hugely pleasant activity that she did alone was she set a chair so the light came in the morning, and she had her, you know, cup of coffee or tea, sitting, feeling the sun, you know, looking out this nice window. So just simple things like that built into your day can really have an impact on your mood. We try to get people to be with other people. It's pretty, you know, isolation can really drive mood down. We know that depression is related to medical illnesses for many reasons, but one of them is when people are ill, they're often interacting less, and that lowers mood. So we really try to get people doing things with others. Oftentimes it's doing something you used to like to do. That's you know, what have you given up? Is it going to church? Is it, you know, bingo? What have you given up that you could go back to that you like? Free and low-cost things are really important, so people aren't dependent on having money to do all their pleasant activities. And short and simple things are important, so you could just have some pleasantness in your day. It's incredibly important. And again, we actually contract with people to do something pleasant. So we kind of rope them into it the first day. And we say, even if you don't think you're going to enjoy it, just try it. And then they'll come back and almost always report they liked it more than they thought. So the areas we try to get people to do, again, self-care activities, taking a shower, you know, paying the bills, all those things can feel good when you're taking care of yourself in some way. Then just some fun activities, doing them just because you enjoy them. It's nice for all of us to have some of that in our lives. Learning activities where you're actually accomplishing something. I think we all feel good when we do that. And then these meaningful activities can be quite important. We had a patient who had lost his job and was not going to be able to go back to work, and had really lost contact with his family. He was pretty isolated, and it was volunteering at the Humane Society, where he knew those dogs looked forward to him coming and walking them every day. That just brought a huge amount of meaning to his life and brought him out of his depression. So we think those meaningful activities are really important. And, you know, we try to get people to balance their activities. So thinking of, you know, your responsibilities, keeping them, but making sure there's balance and that you have time for yourself and something pleasant. We do this little, you know, I mentioned that the interesting thing is when people are depressed, they don't think they'll enjoy anything. So we ask them to learn that by asking them to pick an activity they'll do and predict how much they think they'll enjoy it, and then record how much they did enjoy it. And for depressed people, almost always they enjoy it more than they think they will. So they learn that, when I think I'm not going to enjoy it, I still should do it because I will enjoy it more than I think. And then we work on goals with people, helping people feel like they're meeting some goals. And it's interesting, many times people will not have reflected on what their life goals are for a long time, and it can be a very meaningful activity to think about. You know, what do you really want to accomplish in your life? And giving them some concrete steps. And of course, we work on social networks, making sure people have the support they need. And with depression, you really want to focus on two things. Are you getting support, and are you supporting others? Because you know, an interesting thing about depression is that it's pretty self-focused. Have you noticed that people who are depressed are pretty focused on themselves? It's interesting. We know that depression is very debilitating for children of depressed moms. And I think one of the reasons is the moms can't think very much about that kid. They're just thinking about themselves, and they feel so bad. So we also try to get people to make sure they're reciprocating. So they have people that will help them, but they're helping others, and they're supporting others as well.